The cruise ship damaged in a dangerous storm in the Atlantic is back at port in New Jersey this morning. Royal Caribbean's Anthem of the Seas docked last night. There are calls for an investigation into why the ship sailed into the severe weather, knowing it was coming. Don Dahler was there as the ship arrived at the Cape Liberty cruise port in Bayonne. Don, good morning.
Good morning. This gives you some idea of the enormity of this ship. I mean, look at the size of this thing. But that also tells you something about the size of the storm it ran into that tossed this around like a paper cup. Last night, passengers streamed off. Some were cheering, some were kissing the ground. And who can blame them when you think about what they went through? Beaten, battered, but home, Royal Caribbean's Anthem of the Seas limped back into Cape Liberty, New Jersey last night.
Free at last! Free at last!
Putting an end to the terrifying trip. But as some of the 4,500 passengers poured out of the storm-damaged cruise liner,
awful experience. Awful.
frustrations boiled over.
We thought that we were all going to die.
The worst part was the fear and the lies, because we were told over and over that we were in good shape.
The reality of it is that they should have never set sail.
We were trapped in a room for 17 hours. It's like on a roller coaster you can't get off of, and you weren't strapped in.
Kim Robinette was traveling with her two sons. She says the captain told them early on about the severe weather.
And when we left port, he said that we were going to try and beat a storm. But by, I'd say, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, the boys are holding on to their beds.
Royal Caribbean is facing criticism for going forward with the trip despite the forecast. Bill Baumgartner, a senior vice president with the cruise line, says the strength of the storm caught them off guard. Would you say that the captain then ultimately made a mistake in deciding to go ahead with this voyage?
If we knew that winds of 125 mile an hour sustained were going to be in that area, we never would have gone. There's no question about it.
But after reviewing weather reports for the area, a former cruise line captain told us the ship should never have set sail.
There really was absolutely no way that ship was going to avoid that storm. It's a miracle that the damage and the injuries were as minimal as they were. This could have been an absolute catastrophe.
Royal Caribbean offered to passengers one last night on board in port, and hundreds of them took them up on it. The Anthem of the Seas will be here for a few days for inspections and repairs, and then they say it'll be ready for cruising again next week. Charlie.
Thanks, Don.